James Cagney truly hated him, more than anyone. James Cagney was born James Francis Cagney, Jr. on July 17, 1899, in the tough, working-class neighborhood of Lower East Side, Manhattan, New York City, a densely populated area filled with immigrant families and teeming with both cultural vibrancy and economic struggle. His parents were James Francis Cagney, Sr., a man of full Irish descent who held various blue-collar jobs to make ends meet, most notably working as a bartender and briefly pursuing a career as an amateur boxer, bringing both physical toughness and an unspoken code of resilience into the household. His mother, Carolyn Elizabeth Nelson, had a more diverse European heritage, being part Norwegian and part Irish, and was known to be a strong, stabilizing figure in the family, often ensuring her children were cared for despite the family's financial struggles. The blend of Irish charm and Scandinavian discipline in his household may have contributed to Cagney's unique combination of charisma and work ethic later seen in his film performances. James was the second of 7 children, growing up amidst the noise and closeness that come with a large family in a cramped urban setting. The Cagney household was far from affluent, and the children were expected to work or contribute in whatever ways they could. Despite these challenges, Cagney excelled academically and earned admission to Stuyvesant High School, one of New York City's most prestigious public schools, known for its academic rigor. He graduated in 1918, at the tail end of World War I, an era marked by both hope and uncertainty for young Americans. Eager to continue his education, Cagney briefly attended Columbia College at Columbia University, one of the Ivy League schools, a remarkable feat considering his working-class background. However, his plans were abruptly changed after the death of his father, a loss that not only devastated the family emotionally, but also strained them financially. The tragedy forced Cagney to drop out of college and begin working to support his family, a sense of duty and responsibility that he carried with him throughout his life. Cagney's entry into show business was almost accidental. His older brother, Harry Cagney, had taken a role in a pantomime production directed by Florence James, and young James worked backstage as a scenery boy. When Harry fell ill, Cagney stepped in, seizing the opportunity with remarkable confidence and enthusiasm. He managed to recite the lines perfectly, displaying not only a good memory, but a natural flair for performance. That early substitution lit a spark in Cagney that would eventually blaze into a legendary career in theater and film. In 1919, seeking to further pursue a career on stage, Cagney auditioned for the wartime musical revue Every Sailor. The part called for a chorus girl, an unusual role for a man to audition for, but Cagney's only dance experience was with the Peabody, a popular fast-paced ballroom dance. With charm and improvisation, he demonstrated the Peabody steps and managed to convince the producers of his stage potential. It was an early indication of his boldness, adaptability, and ability to win over an audience. After years of smaller roles and stage work, Cagney got his first major break in 1925 when he was cast in the gritty 3-act play Outside Looking In, written by Maxwell Anderson. He played a young tough guy, a character archetype he would later become famous for. Cagney's performance earned him $200 a week, a significant sum at the time, and more importantly, it showcased his ability to portray streetwise, emotionally complex characters with nuance and intensity. With his star rising, Cagney's creativity extended beyond acting. He established a dance school for professionals, training aspiring dancers and earning a reputation as a forward-thinking choreographer and teacher. His unique instruction style caught attention, leading to an invitation to choreograph and star in the satirical musical revues Grand Street Follies of 1928 and Grand Street Follies of 1929. These shows, known for their wit and social commentary, allowed Cagney to display his singing, dancing, and comedic talents on stage and earned him increasing recognition. In 1931, Cagney entered the world of motion pictures with a bang. He was originally cast as Matt Doyle in the gangster film The Public Enemy, opposite Edward Woods, who was set to play the lead role of Tom Powers. However, after reviewing early footage, producers recognized Cagney's compelling screen presence and switched the roles, casting him as the fiery Tom Powers. The film's success launched Cagney into stardom and cemented his image as Hollywood's most dynamic and believable tough guy. That same year, Cagney and another rising actor, Edward G. Robinson, teamed up in the crime film Smart Money, further showcasing his talents and range. However, as Hollywood adjusted to the Motion Picture Production Code of 1930, enforced more strictly by 1934, which aimed to restrict violence and indecency in films, Cagney began to branch out. He showed his lighter side in the comedy Blonde Crazy, proving he wasn't limited to just gangster roles. In 1932, Cagney starred in Taxi, a gritty drama where he played a pugnacious cab driver. He signed a $1,000 a week contract with Warner Brothers, securing his place among Hollywood's top earners. Taxi also marked a significant moment in Cagney's career. It was the first time he danced on screen, demonstrating his musical roots, and it was the last time he would permit live ammunition to be used during a shootout scene after narrowly avoiding injury, a clear indication of his growing power in the industry. Cagney's portrayal of Rocky Sullivan in the 1938 crime drama Angels with Dirty Faces was a landmark role. His nuanced performance as a gangster facing execution earned him an Academy Award nomination for Best Actor and won him the New York Film Critics Circle Award for Best Actor, further solidifying his reputation as one of the greatest actors of his generation. His most acclaimed role came in 1942, when he starred as patriotic entertainer George M. Cohan in the musical biopic Yankee Doodle Dandy. Cagney's energetic and heartfelt performance captured the spirit of American resilience and earned him the Academy Award for Best Actor, with the film receiving 8 nominations and winning 3 Oscars. It was not only a personal triumph, but also a deeply symbolic film during the early years of World War II. Cagney also dabbled in Shakespeare, taking on his only classical role in A Midsummer Night's Dream, a testament to his versatility and willingness to explore different acting challenges. By the end of the 1930s, he had completed 10 prolific years in the film industry, capped off with the Depression-era crime film The Roaring Twenties. In 1942, he took more control of his career by founding Cagney Productions, asserting his independence in a studio-dominated era. That same year, he was also elected president of the Screen Actors Guild, reflecting his leadership and commitment to improving working conditions for actors. In 1943, Cagney Productions released its first film, Johnny Come Lately, a heartwarming drama that gave him a different kind of role. For the film Blood on the Sun, he trained in judo to perform his own stunts, a bold move for an actor in his 40s. Despite the effort, the film underperformed at the box office, and financial issues soon plagued Cagney Productions. To prevent further losses, Cagney struck a deal to integrate Cagney Productions with Warner Brothers, returning to a more secure studio arrangement. In 1949, he delivered one of his most iconic performances as Cody Jarrett, a ruthless, mentally unstable criminal in White Heat. His chilling cry, "Made it, Ma! Top of the world!" became one of cinema's most unforgettable lines, and the role is widely regarded as the pinnacle of his film career. In the mid-1950s, Cagney accepted a new challenge in the MGM Western Tribute to a Bad Man, 1955. While the role was outside his typical gangster persona, he received critical acclaim for his depth and gravitas. He later starred in These Wilder Years, opposite Barbara Stanwyck, further proving his acting longevity and adaptability. After a long break, Cagney returned to film in 1981 with a small but poignant role in Milos Forman's Ragtime, playing a corrupt police commissioner. 3 years later, he made his final screen appearance in the 1984 TV movie Terrible Joe Moran, a quiet farewell to an illustrious career spanning over 5 decades. During the early years of his stage career, while auditioning for a vaudeville revue called Pitter Patter in the early 1920s, James Cagney had a life-changing encounter that would shape his personal life for decades to come. It was during this audition process that he met a young chorus dancer named Frances Willard Vernon. Frances, just 16 years old at the time, possessed a graceful charm and quiet strength that immediately caught Cagney's attention. Despite their age difference and the whirlwind pace of show business, the two quickly formed a close bond. They discovered shared values rooted in discipline, family, and hard work, traits that were rare and deeply appreciated in the volatile world of entertainment. Their romance blossomed behind the curtain, away from the spotlight, anchored in mutual respect and a shared sense of modesty. James and Frances, whom he lovingly called Billy, were married in 1922, marking the beginning of one of Hollywood's most enduring and stable marriages. Unlike many of their peers, whose relationships were often consumed by fame, scandal, or personal excess, the Cagneys led a comparatively private and grounded life. Their union, which lasted nearly 65 years until James Cagney's death in 1986, was widely admired in both professional and personal circles as a rare example of enduring love in the entertainment industry. Though unable to have biological children of their own, James and Frances deeply desired to build a family together. They eventually chose to adopt, a decision that reflected both their strong commitment to nurturing a family and their sense of responsibility. Their first child, a son, was named James Cagney, Jr. Growing up in the shadow of a larger-than-life Hollywood legend was not easy, but James Jr. pursued his own path with his father's quiet support and guidance. Later, the couple adopted a daughter whom they named Kathleen Cagney, lovingly nicknamed Casey. Both children were raised away from the Hollywood limelight on the Cagneys' farm in Martha's Vineyard, where James found peace away from the chaos of fame, and Frances focused on creating a warm, stable home life. Despite the challenges of raising a family under the gaze of public attention, James and Frances remained deeply committed parents. They provided their children with a life filled with culture, values, and simplicity. Cagney, though often seen by the public as a tough-talking gangster on screen, was in reality a devoted family man who cherished quiet evenings with his wife and children far more than Hollywood parties or celebrity galas. His relationship with Frances, in particular, stood as the emotional cornerstone of his life, and her unwavering support played a significant role in helping him navigate the highs and lows of his storied career. Despite his generally affable public image and reputation as a consummate professional, James Cagney harbored a particularly intense and deeply rooted animosity toward one fellow entertainer, Gene Kelly. This animosity was not a casual or passing disdain. It was a profound personal dislike that lingered for decades and became one of the most emotionally charged resentments of Cagney's long Hollywood career. While Cagney rarely aired his grievances publicly, those closest to him, including trusted colleagues and friends, knew that he considered Gene Kelly not just a rival, but a figure of contempt. It was a feeling rooted in a clash of temperament, artistic ideology, and personal principles. The seeds of this hatred were likely sown during the 1940s, a time when both Cagney and Kelly were dominant figures in Hollywood. Cagney, the hardened, streetwise actor whose dancing was rooted in the vaudeville tradition, and Kelly, the polished, athletic golden boy whose style defined the modern musical. To Cagney, who had spent years grinding through the theater circuit and mastering the subtleties of tough-guy realism, Kelly seemed more like a conceited showman than a serious performer. Cagney's working-class roots shaped his view of success. He valued humility, grit, and respect for one's fellow actors. In contrast, Kelly was known for his perfectionism, arrogance, and tendency to upstage others. Their personalities collided violently, and Cagney felt that Kelly not only disrespected his craft, but also represented the kind of Hollywood artifice that he resented. Their one and only professional collaboration, The Devil's Disciple, was enough to cement Cagney's feelings. Cagney found Kelly's attitude on set to be insufferably smug, his approach to acting overly theatrical, and his behind-the-scenes maneuvering downright manipulative. According to Cagney, Kelly was less interested in collaboration than in self-glorification, often pushing for camera angles and choreography that would highlight his own performance at the expense of others. Cagney, who had always believed in the ensemble nature of filmmaking, considered such behavior disgraceful. He believed Kelly violated the unspoken ethics of the profession, treating castmates as stepping stones rather than equals. Privately, Cagney would often describe Kelly in unflattering terms, allegedly referring to him as that grinning narcissist and a dancer who thought he was a damn philosopher. He bristled at how the press fawned over Kelly's charm and athleticism while ignoring what Cagney saw as an absence of emotional depth in his performances. The resentment deepened as Kelly's fame continued to rise in the post-war years, especially after Singin' in the Rain became a critical and commercial triumph. Cagney, while never one to be consumed with jealousy, found the accolades given to Kelly to be grossly misplaced, and he took personal offense when critics began calling Kelly the greatest dancer in film, as if Fred Astaire and Cagney himself had never existed. What made the bitterness worse was the contrast in how they were perceived publicly. While Cagney was viewed as tough but private, Kelly was seen as charming, witty, and politically progressive. But Cagney, a lifelong Union supporter and patriot, felt that Kelly's public persona was calculated, even phony. He believed Kelly's advocacy was often performative, designed more to keep him in the spotlight than to advance any sincere cause. Cagney, who had fought behind the scenes for actors' rights and even clashed with Warner Brothers studio heads for fair treatment, saw himself as someone who acted on principle. Kelly, in his eyes, was acting for applause. Perhaps the ultimate irony is that both men were extraordinarily gifted. Cagney with his explosive, unpredictable presence and tap-dancing finesse, and Kelly with his smooth, balletic grace and choreographic innovations. Yet instead of mutual respect, their differences ignited lasting hostility. When Cagney looked at Gene Kelly, he did not see a peer or an inspiration. He saw a symbol of everything he despised about the Hollywood machine: ego, manipulation, and self-promotion. And while he was too much of a gentleman to launch a public feud, those who knew Cagney well were certain of one thing. If there was one man he truly hated more than anyone else in the business, it was Gene Kelly. In the later years of his life, James Cagney began to experience troubling vision issues that led doctors to diagnose him with glaucoma, a serious eye condition characterized by damage to the optic nerve, often associated with high intraocular pressure. Believing this diagnosis to be accurate, Cagney followed the prescribed treatment and began administering regular eye drops intended to lower the pressure in his eyes and prevent further deterioration of his sight. These drops were a standard therapy at the time, and Cagney, always disciplined and conscientious, adhered to the routine diligently. However, as time passed, his symptoms did not improve as expected, and in fact, he began to suffer additional health complications that seemed unrelated to his vision. Concerned and frustrated, Cagney sought further medical evaluations, determined to understand the true nature of his condition. Eventually, it was revealed that he had been misdiagnosed. The problem with his vision was not due to glaucoma after all, but rather a result of undetected diabetes. Diabetes mellitus, a chronic metabolic disorder characterized by high blood sugar levels, can have wide-ranging effects on the body, including serious impacts on eyesight such as diabetic retinopathy. For Cagney, the delayed diagnosis meant that his condition had progressed without proper treatment, possibly exacerbating other underlying issues. This discovery was a turning point in his medical care, and he was placed on a new regimen to manage his blood glucose levels and minimize further complications. The diagnosis of diabetes, especially in an elderly patient like Cagney, brought with it a cascade of new concerns, as the disease increased his risk for cardiovascular problems, kidney damage, and neuropathy, all of which required careful attention. In 1977, Cagney suffered a minor stroke, a cerebrovascular event that marked yet another serious development in his declining health. Although classified as minor, any stroke is a cause for concern, particularly in someone of his age, and it underscored the vulnerability of his overall condition. The stroke likely stemmed from his diabetic condition and possibly years of physical strain endured during his rigorous career as a dancer, actor, and performer. Though he did not suffer major paralysis or severe long-term cognitive impairment from the stroke, the incident did necessitate a period of recovery and likely contributed to his decision to withdraw even more from public life. Friends and colleagues noted that after the stroke, Cagney became increasingly reclusive, preferring the peace and quiet of his beloved rural farm in upstate New York, where he could live away from the limelight and focus on his health. On March 30th, 1986, James Cagney passed away at the age of 86 after suffering a heart attack. This final blow came after years of mounting health issues, and although it marked the end of a remarkable life, it also brought a close to a long period of physical struggle that he had faced with quiet dignity. Cagney's death sent ripples throughout the entertainment industry and across the nation. He had been a towering figure in American cinema, a symbol of both